You're entering CNBC TV 18's virus-free studio, powered by Century Laminates and Century Ply.
Hello and welcome to Halftime Report. I'm Nigel D'Souza. Joining me today is Surbhi Upadhyay, and we have started off the week on a positive foot. In fact, Surbhi, we ended last week with good gains. That was on Friday. Thursday wasn't a great trading session. Today, we were up just around 120 points and thereabouts, just a short while back. Now we're just holding on with a gain of only around 70 points. So we have come off the high point of the day, 11,900, 12,000. That's a bit of a congestion zone, and that's clearly evident on the screen. But what's underperforming today is the broader markets. Pull up the mid-cap index and that'll tell you the real picture out there, because the mid-cap index is not participating in otherwise pretty strong market.
Yeah, and that's largely thanks to the banks, because you don't have the big boys participating. I mean, Reliance is still kind of dragging its feet.
Yes.
But the banks, barring HDFC Bank, by the way, that one's lost its mojo from the morning highs. That's a very interesting trend on HDFC Bank post numbers. But barring that one, the rest of the banking pack, at least for now, is holding up. And that explains the green that we've got on the screen. We will analyze these trends in more detail as we go along. But let's get started. Here are the headlines at noon. Strong U.S. retail sales and healthy GDP growth in China power equities. Financials gain, most followed by public sector companies, while IT stocks see profit-taking.
Private banks led financials higher as fears of elevated stress recede after HDFC Bank says collections have moved up sharply and restructurings could be very limited. Brokerages revised their target price higher for HDFC Bank.
CNBC TV 18 learns that buybacks by public sector companies with surplus cash could see a big push to up the divestment receipts in the coming months.
And Avenue Supermart, Tata Communications and Oberoi Realty, all of them are higher as they report an improved performance and point to an optimistic outlook.
Welcome back. Let's get things started. Once again, the stock on the radar to begin with has to be HDFC Bank. As we just told you, it's the one stock that's now dragging a little bit. It's off the morning highs. Now, the bank reported a mixed set of numbers for the second quarter over the weekend. Abhishek is here to give us the fine print, what worked and where perhaps people could raise some questions. Abhishek.
Well, HDFC Bank reported a mixed set of numbers. Their net interest margin declining to a 16-quarter low of 4.1% when compared to 4.3% in the previous quarter. This decline in net interest margin was a bit offsetted by the strong growth in fee income, which grew more than 75% sequentially. Now, SDB Financial, a key subsidiary of the bank, reported a net loss for the first time of about 85 crore in Q2. Their low-cost deposit momentum was pretty strong, growing at 27.5% YOY and about 7% sequentially. However, on the flip side, the retail loan growth, which used to be around 25-27% 7-8 quarters back, is now down to only 5%. The huge balance sheet size of HDFC Bank do provide cushion in terms of healthy operating profits, which can take care of provisions. On a consolidated basis, despite Supreme Court judgment being used, the slippages remained elevated at 3,575 crores when compared to 3,556 crore in the previous quarter. Analysts remain bullish on the stock, given the fact that they say, collection efficiency is pretty strong at around 95% for September. The bank has sufficient cushion against shock. And they also say that, they are surprised on fee income front, and asset quality by miles is far ahead of peers. All the analysts have a buy or add rating on the stock with a target price ranging from 1,300 to 1,525. Back to you.
Thanks so much for that, Abhishek. Well, on that note, let's hear out what the management had to say on their con call.
The bank holds provisions as of September 30 against potential COVID impact based on information available at this point in time, and the same are in excess of the RBI prescribed norms. Annualized, the reported slippage ratio is at 0.8% in the current quarter. If you consider the potential NPAs, as I just mentioned, using analytical model, the pro forma annualized slippage ratio for the current quarter is at 1.98% as against 2.2% in prior year and 1.2% in prior quarter. Specific loan loss provisions reported were 1,241 crore. If we were to follow our regular recognition process without any constraints of court directives, including accelerated recognition using analytical models, the specific loan loss provision would have been higher by 1,130 crore, resulting in a specific loan loss provision on a pro forma basis of 2,371 crore for the quarter, as against 2,041 crore for the prior year and 2,740 crore during the prior quarter.
All right, so that's all about HDFC Bank. The other major number that we got over the weekend was, of course, from Avenue Supermarts. And the company seems to have met expectations, which were pretty somber and muted to begin with. Mangalam joins in with the fine print. Mangalam.
That's right. Avenue Supermart's second quarter numbers, on the face of it, they were muted because the company did post a 12% decline in their revenues, a 37% decline in their EBITDA as well as the net profit. But then again, the analysts were expecting that. They were factoring in a sequential recovery, and at the same time, the numbers would look muted year on year, primarily on account of the fact that not a lot has still opened up. So if you compare it with the poll that our consensus analysts threw up, revenues at 5,200 crores, by and large in line with our expectations of 5,300 odd crores. EBITDA coming in at 325 crores compares exactly with our poll of 328 crores. And so the net profit of around 211 odd crores. The street likes the fact that the management commentary is positive because the management is saying that, they are now ambling towards normalcy. Moreover, the sales of all the daily provisions as well as necessities, FMCG, etc., has actually grown year on year in September. And while general merchandise as well as garments, which give them higher margins, are still lower than what they were last year. The contribution is at 22%. This compares to 27% last year. It is still showing a fair amount of recovery from the previous quarter levels. What the street, however, likes the most is the fact that the company is now increasing its focus towards e-commerce. They've shut 2 stores in Mumbai and they've converted them into e-fulfillment centers, and they've added 6 new stores during this quarter for offline sales as well. All of this married with the fact that the stock was down 25% from the highs, still expensive at 60 times, is giving it a reason for it to bounce today.
Okay, all right. Mangalam, thanks so much for that. Well, Tata Communications as well is reacting to a rather good set of numbers. The margins expanded, the net debt has declined. Rima joins in to fill us in with those highlights. Rima?
Thanks so much for that. Well, first, let me just tell our viewers how much Tatacom has moved up. It's up 130% on a year-to-date basis. The low in March was 205 rupees, which means from that level, the stock has gained up 350%. And the reason for that is for 2 consecutive quarters, the company's reported good numbers. The key highlight this quarter was the margin expansion. So margins have gone up by 260 basis points on a quarter-on-quarter basis. On a year-on-year basis, it's gone up by 680 basis points. That's led by strong profitable growth in the data business and cost efficiencies. The management said that COVID-related benefit and operating costs continued in the current quarter, and there was some timing benefits as some of the costs got pushed forward to the second quarter. That's the reason why, despite flat revenues, their profits were up 47%. So as we pointed out, it's the data business which was strong. Data revenues were up 7% on a year-on-year basis, outpacing the overall consolidated growth, and there was a margin expansion there as well. The company continues to bring down its debt. If you see the net debt to EBITDA for 12 months trailing, it was closer to 3 times about 6 quarters ago, and that has come to 2.3 times. So it's a combination of margin expansion, a strong data revenue, as well as reduction in net debt, which is firing Tata Communications up today.
Okay, so that's Tata Communication moving higher on those numbers that Rima explained to us. Well, let's move on beyond earnings now. The sale of L&T Mutual Fund is at an advanced stage as the valuation standoff with Blackstone has been resolved. Nisha is here with some exclusive details. Nisha, what are you picking up?
So sources do tell us that while the valuation mismatch has held up the discussions earlier and it delayed the overall deal negotiations, now we gather from sources with direct knowledge that both Blackstone as well as L&T Finance Holdings, which is the parent company of L&T Mutual Fund, have come to a final deal structure. By way of that, we do gather that 100% of L&T Mutual Fund is likely to be bought by the bulge bracket private equity firm Blackstone for close to 3,200 crore rupees. Remember, L&T's earlier ask was close to about 4,000 odd crore rupees. So finally, the deal contours have been decided upon. But now the two companies are working on building a very strong case to get market regulator SEBI's approval for this particular deal. Now, remember that SEBI is not in favor most of the times in short-term life funds in buying into the AMC kind of businesses. But this time, Blackstone has one particular argument that they are already a sponsor in business trusts. So this is the argument that is being built, and SEBI approval is going to be extremely crucial. If they get the nod, then Blackstone could very well turn out to be the first foreign investor holding 100% stake in a mutual fund asset in India. Now, this deal is going to be very important from two aspects. That is, it will also set a precedent for other foreign investors to look at a complete buyout in this particular space, giving a fillip to this particular sector and its deal scenario. And also remember, there are many AMC companies waiting by and looking at the valuation benchmark from this deal, and they would be coming in the market and taking the yardsticks which will be set by this transaction. An announcement could be likely soon unless there is any derailment as far as the approvals are concerned.
So we'll watch out for that development. Thank you, Nisha, very much. Of course, it'll be interesting to note. Even, you have a couple of listed AMC businesses, so it'll be interesting to see how the market reads into it as well. We do need to take a very quick break on that note. On the other side, we are going to put the spotlight on Cosmo Films. The company is considering a buyback on the 26th of the month. We'll get chatting with Ashok Jaipuria, CMD of Cosmo Films, in just a moment.